Yeah, so just welcome again, everybody. And I'm also actually from Cape Town. I didn't mention that. I work with African Climate Alliance, so some of you do know me. We are going to kick off the session before we start before Kulakani speaks about the kind of objectives of the session and the purpose of the session. I thought we could just start off with a story or stories that we'll share with you, kind of that relate to what we're talking about today. And many of us have experience with organizing, be it for whatever cause within our, that we're passionate about. And yeah, I was part of the African Climate Alliance and the Cape Town climate strikes that happened last year. And anyone that's kind of done organizing, I'm sure you'll agree that things don't always go according to plan. And just a funny story, we were basically walking from the one road and we were walking towards Parliament, and there were about 1,500 of us, and between 1,500 and 2,000, and we were walking and we were marching and it was going well. And I think some of you were there and know, it was going a little bit too fast at stages, and everyone was very excited, and there were a couple of us that were running up and down, trying to make sure that everyone was in the right road, that no one was spilling out onto the cars. And then there was a stage where we got towards Parliament, and everyone was singing and shouting, and it was so exciting and chaotic in a really beautiful way. But then a few of us started to realize that actually we weren't turning towards Parliament like we were supposed to be. And so you can imagine some of us running up and down, waving our hands, no, turn. And the group, almost 1,000 people, more than 1,000 people, going the wrong way before they're about to turn to Parliament. And luckily we managed, with our crazy antics, to be able to get everyone to turn and go the right way and get to Parliament and disperse. And it was a lot of fun. It was crazy, and we got there, and that's all fine. And I think the point of the story and the reason why I'm bringing it up today is just because, and I'm sure Kulakani will also share a similar one, but that it's always important to be on the same page, to know where we're going, and to be flexible. And be able to collaborate together when things change and when things go wrong. So I'm going to hand over to you, Kulakani, to take us through the purpose of the session.
Right. Thank you very much, Sarah. I also have a story to share before I tell everyone why we are here. You see, if we're doing this stuff, especially on climate change, and if we're doing the activism, there are a lot of funny things that are happening, both in the action that we are doing and with the people that we are targeting. Last year, we also did a strike. So some of these guys will remember in Durban. And then when we were doing the strike, we were targeting, we actually had a memorandum to submit to a shareholder of Sasol, and that was the old Moshwal. And the response that we got as young people was that as we are marching and wanting Sasol to stop their plan of drilling the oil in our offshores and doing their oil activities especially in Durban. So they responded and told us that South Africa is facing unemployment and they employ thousands of people, and we could also be employed, and they contribute to the country's GDP. And I think that was funny because we knew about that, and I think maybe they wanted to distract us, and I think that is happening in actual fact in this activism. When we are doing activism in our organizations or in our movement, you get an opportunity that says, are you employed? If you're not employed, I have a job for you. Are you employed? If you are employed, how much are you getting paid? I have a better pay for you. I think maybe those are the lessons that we learn, and because these opportunities are attractive to us, they get too much destructive. So I think that is one of the challenges that we face. I have too many stories to share, but let me tell you why we're here. So we're here to share our stories. So myself and Sarah has shared the story, and I think I'm going to share another one in a breakout session. So we're here to share our stories and get to know how we have faced the challenges in the activism, not only in the climate change or environmental activism, but in any activism that we are involved in or we have been involved in. So we are also to share our milestones, what we have achieved so far. We are also share some mechanisms that we are doing in our organizations, and what have worked for us and what has not worked for us well. And there are questions that we will be dealing with in our in the breakout rooms, and those questions will be shared by my colleague Sarah. And then and then after that we will come back to share those stories back to the main session, and then we'll continue with this session. And remember that in this summit, we're here to exchange ideas. I think this is one of the important things that we are doing in this summit. We're here to exchange ideas and just to grow each other and just to connect, so that in the near future or in the future we are still we can still build up this movement. So this is, I have explained why we're here. So in the breakout rooms, we are going to take 20 minutes, but my colleague Sarah will explain it. She has shared here the questions that we will be dealing with. So thank you. Over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Kulakani. Yeah, absolutely. You've mentioned some of them, and I think absolutely on that point that I think often we find in any movement or movements, we work in silos, you know, and we work on our own individual, with our own individual organization or our own individual idea, and it's really about how can we move away from I and move to a we always, and collaborate and focus on this joint goal. So your questions are: what are the challenges, roadblocks you face in organizing? What are some of the successes or mechanisms of organizing that have worked for you, and why have they worked? And then another thing to do is that when you've shared these stories as a group, select one main story between you that you actually want to share then to the main group, that you think brings across a certain message that you want to share with the plenary, which is this bigger group. And then also, while you're in these groups, think about a question that you would like to pose. So next week, Tuesday, there's going to be an international activist meetup. There's going to be discussions around organizing. So think about the challenges that you're facing. Think about what is one question that you'd love to ask some seasoned activists, some international activists, and think about that as a group, and also pose that back to plenary, so that question can actually be then taken and answered next week at next week's session on Tuesday. Cool. So I think we can go into breakout rooms now. Chris, can you do that for us, please? Yeah, whoever is going to be sharing their story from their respective groups, then it got passionate. Okay, great. So whoever's going to be sharing their stories, Precious, you sharing from that group. Lungelo will be sharing from our group, and Les, okay, great, you'll be sharing. And Les, since you have put in the chat, do you want to then start with sharing the story, please?
Yes, I lost the page with my notes, so hold on. Please give me 2 seconds.
No problem.
There we go. All right, so
Les was a brilliant note taker, just saying.
Thank you. I'm used to taking minutes. Okay, yeah, so it was just the 3 of us. Ayaka had to sadly leave because she has load shedding. So it was just Natalie, Nick, and I. And basically, we kind of had the same sort of, regarding the first question, we had pretty much the same issues that we faced. So school was a big issue that we spoke about, because we have to find the balance between school and organizing. And with that, a lot of things, some people forget about things, and so you have to try and find the balance between school and organizing, and trying to make sure things get done while also trying to get your schoolwork done as well. And sometimes you have to contact people directly when you have to get specific things done, just to make sure things get sorted out. And also, like, another thing was sometimes a lot of this, you sort of start on your own when you don't really know any sort of other climate justice activists. So you sort of get involved, you sort of, it's very difficult to start getting people to organize with you. So you have to sort of go looking for other people, and, and that's how you get more involved with climate justice organizing. So it's very difficult to start organizing, and as time goes on and you get more involved and you sort of learn, you just not discover, but you find new people to organize with, it gets a lot easier. So that's a big challenge. That's another big challenge we all faced. And another thing is that I brought up specifically, that like having meetings and sort of direct communication with everyone, where everyone is, live and talking to each other, is very important. That's like as a sort of success mechanism that we discovered. Like, you have to talk to people a lot to and so we're all on the same page, we all understand what we need to do and what needs to get done, and all the specific messages that we're trying to get across, etc., etc. And yeah, I think that that is something, to make sure everything gets done and on time, and everything works well. Having meetings is very important. Yeah, so then as a group, select one main story / anecdotes to share. So we asked, like, Nick proposed the question of, if I remember correctly, it was do they I'm trying to remember the question. I'm trying to word it correctly, but it has something to do. If Nick can type it in the chat, it'd be great. But
I can say it if you'd like.
Thank you so much.
Blessed. Okay, so I basically posed the question because the assumption is that if we're going to be talking to international activists, there's probably going to be quite a few who come from privileged countries or the global north, or just places that are very different from South Africa in many ways. And we basically wanted to ask them how they perceive the discrepancies between how they do activism and how we do activism here, and how they think that they can assist us in a collaborative sense through using their privilege and their privilege in any form, be it social, financial, etc., to assist us who have very different issues to them in overcoming those issues.
Yeah, that was essentially it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all we discussed.
Cool, thanks very much. Amazing. Livuyo.
Okay. Challenge we encountered was getting people
Livuyo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry, it's cut out. I think your signal might have gone. Can you just try again?
Okay. One challenge was getting.
Oh gosh. Okay. Sorry, Livuyo, if you're still around, I think we may have lost you there for a second. I see you struggling with your network. We'll try to come back to you. Can we move then to Precious? Are you okay with going next?
Yes, I am.
Thanks.
So yeah, our time got cut right in the middle of my sentence as I was sharing my story in the group. I think just to complete that story was that I had mentioned in our group that one of the challenges that we had, one major challenge that stands out from one of the marches that we had, was that the municipality had somehow managed to infiltrate our team and our group. and got a hold of contact details and then sent out SMSs to a heck of a lot of our participants, telling them that the march had been cancelled. And we ended up having a handful of people who pitched up who didn't get the messages that were sent by the municipality.
Wow.
Yeah, that was our huge sort of, I think. And when we did an evaluation of the situation, we assumed, or we sort of pinpointed and said that it was one of the, because also what our organization is known to be associated with, problem groups. One of the problem groups being Abahlali baseMjondolo in the Durban area, and they explicitly asked us if we were going to have them participate in our march. And they try as far as possible to not allow some of those problem groups to actually go ahead and protest and be seen on the streets. So during the Section 4 meetings, they asked us who our partners going to be, how many people we're expecting, the normal questions that they would ask at a Section 4 meeting. And also for some contact details of leaders of those different formations. And yeah, that was really a huge sort of slap in the face about how the authorities that we engage with can sometimes, very often, use and manipulate the powers that they have, and the resources that they have access to. So that was my story. And some of the stories that came out in the groups also is just a lot of, and most of them also things that I've seen and experienced. We had an issue about how in a group of, or in a formation, there's always a mix of young and old activists, young and seasoned activists, and how some of those more seasoned activists might feel not threatened, but threatened in a way of the new faces, of the new young activists, the louder, more energetic activists that come up and they exert some of their powers onto the youth, where they sort of lose the message and they start shouting and talking at the young people, part of those formations, and not really talking to them to keep them a part of the movement. Then also what Awande was talking about, and said it got really passionate, and we were not even able to see all of that passion. Yeah, Awande said a lot of things. There was also a mention of one of our group members said how an issue is when we come together as a group and we're not clear on what it is that we are on the streets for. It can really be problematic and sort of shooting ourselves in the foot if we're not able to get everybody who's going to participate in the march on the same page. And he experienced this where the demands of that particular march were not explicitly clear to everybody that was there, and everybody sort of took up space to voice their own very valid demands and issues that they were representing. Yeah, those were our issues. I think I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. You see, yeah, people are commenting also on some of the worrisome things that you've mentioned, and some very, very important things to discuss. So thank you for that. Lungelo, you were going to share for our group, if you could go.
Okay. I'm from room 2. One of the major challenges, as people mentioned, was about in organizing, was about misunderstanding. Because sometimes when you organize something like an event or about climate change, some people don't understand, and some people think that you have other intentions of some sort, and you end up not connecting well with them. And I was at my challenge was, because I'm living in the rural areas, my challenge is getting people to meet up, to understand, and to hear out what are my intentions, or what I am about to talk about. And I end up using other platforms or platforms of other people to slot in my agenda. So mainly the challenges were like how to organize it, because nowadays we're using the internet. Maybe some people are struggling to access data, and some people are struggling to connect via every platform of socializing. And the second point is about what ways we are using to organize that work for us successfully. And I shared a story about my experience, because I'm living in a remote area where people are very scattered, and they are usually meeting when there is an event like sport or schools or some festival. So that's the only way that's one of the main ways that I'm using to meet people and to organize and to slot in my 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 issue, even though it's not mainly about climate change. Is another organization. And at the end of the session, one of our roommates, who was Snotile, popped a question about how, as a young woman from the rural areas, how can she organize people, especially to something like climate change, because you know I'm from rural areas also, and I know when you approach people and you say, okay, I have this issue that I want to discuss with you, and you are going to elders or people of your age, most of the time they just say, it's none of our business. You can sort that on your own, or what if like it's a real question, especially from the rural areas. Yeah, when we are living in towns or in the suburb area, you can, it's not very hard to access people and to get the attention of many people. But when you're living in the rural areas, it's very difficult. I know. So that was her question. That's a question from Snotil. Thank you.
Thanks, Lungelo. Luvuyo, can we try again, or someone from Luvuyo's group can share from what stories were shared, or story?
Okay. Uh, one challenge was actually getting people.
Sorry, Luvuyo, we can't hear you,
Students
unfortunately.
from our school.
Unfortunately, it's cutting out. You can maybe type in the chat, or if there's someone else from your group that
Climate
can.
strike from last year, on the 20th of September.
Sorry, Luvuyo. As I said, we can't hear you. Unfortunately, it's breaking up. If you want to type in the chat, or if there's someone else from your group that can. I'm not sure if you can also hear me because of the. Is there anyone that can maybe share from that group?
Yeah, hi. I think I can share. It's just that he was doing most of the note taking. So I'm just gonna try and remember some of the stuff that was shared. So the first question, in terms of the challenges, most of us had not actually had never actually organized anything. It was just one person, but we did noticed that in terms of logistics, it is very difficult. Well, some of the challenges, especially if it's like an extensive type of an event. You're only supposed to watch one.
Sorry, continue.
Okay. especially if it's like an extensive event, you need to make sure that all the logistics are there and they're prepared for beforehand. So like where people are going to sleep, are they going to provide their own transports and stuff like that. And we also came across the fact that persuading people to come through, even though they don't understand the content of that particular event. For instance, for climate change, most people aren't very literate in those terms. So we also did come across the fact that it is also some of the challenges, because people would like not be as interested because they don't know. So you need to like find different ways that are going to attract them so that they can come and learn. Oh Lord, I'm trying to remember everything, but yeah, those are some of the issues we were addressed. Oh, and the fact that I think Lisa Kanye was the person who shared a story
Great, thanks,
about.
Tabeka. Yeah, I think that's everybody that's shared, and thank you everybody for sharing some of the challenges. And if there are any other questions that anyone has for the International Activist Meetup that hasn't been raised in one of the group chats, please feel free to just pop it in the chat if you have a burning question. But thank you for those two questions that were raised in terms of asking the activists from the Global North in terms of how they can interact, use their privilege in terms of helping the different types of organizing here, and also how best to organize, as a young person in a rural area as well, which is something that needs to be discussed. Kulakani, can I hand over to you to just take some final questions or doing a close up?
Right. Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you very much, everyone, for sharing, and
Can't
everyone
hear you.
for participating. You cannot hear me. I'm talking. Still can't hear me.
No, still
Sarah,
not.
I can hear him. I
think
think
your
that might
sound's
just be you.
gone.
I can hear him.
I can hear you
I can
too,
hear him
Kulkarni.
loud and clear.
Yeah, I can also
Okay.
hear.
We can hear
Cool.
you.
Awanda's asking if you may email the questions.
Sarah,
okay,
I
so
think
Theo,
your
you
audio
can
is
hear.
not
So is it just
working.
me that
Hey,
can't hear?
yeah.
Okay.
We can all hear
So
everyone. It might just be you.
okay, something is probably happening here with our technicality. So, but everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Sure. All right. So yeah, thank you everyone. Tapio was asking, Awanda was asking if they can send questions by email. Yes, you can do that, and I'll ask Tepo to share his email so that you can share your question with him. So yeah, Tepo, you will share your email address here with us. So right now, I'm not looking at the chat, right? Thank you very much, Tepo. Not looking at the chat, so Tepo will help me to respond to your questions there. So I think we are now 3 minutes to our time, and I just say this one thing which I learned from everyone. That we know what we are doing, and that is what is important for us. You must know your story. So if you're doing something, even if it is a match or it is an intervention, or you are confronting someone about something that they are doing, or if you are just getting into a conversation as an activist and wanting to make your voice heard, one thing that is very much important for you is to know your story, because simple questions like what is climate change can be problematic for some of us. We can talk about a lot of things, a lot of technicalities in the climate policies and what the fossil fuel companies are doing. But then when someone asks you, what does that have to do with climate change? What does that have to do with global warming? It could be sometimes very much challenging. So to know your story is very, very important. Now, before we end our session, I just want to find out if there is anyone who has a burning issue to share with us, just a burning issue or a burning question to share with us in 30 seconds. Do we have anyone? Okay, so we have someone sharing with us. Hey, when I attended a debate on activism, one of the questions that was raised was, how do we ensure that everyone present at an event has the same mindset and that no one has a hidden agenda in any way? A hidden agenda being, for example, looting or theft. That is very, very critical. That is so much critical. Everyone should be in the same mindset. And I think maybe if I can just make a typical example, some people would be part of us wanting to benefit, to say, but then how much money do I get from doing an activity with you guys? Something like that, how much money do I get? Will I get a job? Which we don't know if those concerns would be genuine or not. But yeah, to be in the same page is very, very important. So we don't have someone to share something with us very quickly, a burning issue. Going once, twice, sold. Okay, thank you guys once again for joining. And I think this session is recorded and you will get the recording after this. So yeah, thank you. I just want to say one more thing, guys, just in a second. Next week, we have 2 more sessions. We have 2 more sessions next week, which will be on Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday is very, very, very important for us because we will be having international activists joining us, and we already have sent our questions. We will engage them. They will have a conversation. They will have a conversation with us, and then the last session, which will be on Thursday, we'll hear from organizations from SAYCCC, from African Climate Alliance, and then we'll hear about the way forward. We'll hear about our days of action throughout the year. So it is very, very much important. I encourage you guys to please join. I noticed that today we were only 24, if not 23, but below 25. So I think maybe next week we should be more than that. We should be more than that next week. So once again, guys, everyone, thank you very much for joining. So this is it from me. I hope I'm not leaving anything out. Thank you guys. This is Sarah. Are you here?
Thank you so much. You've been
I'm
a
back,
fantastic
yes.
host.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
Cool. Have a great
So see,
weekend.
we will see you next week, guys.